Okay, we're back for the second episode of Real Good at Doing Stuff. I think the first episode was pretty dang good. God. So anyhow, let's continue where we left off at No Prep Kings in Darlington. And we just got done with E2. We're moving on to E3. So the first thing we need to do as super duper tunerators is look at the data from E2 and see how things went. Did they go according to plan? Did they not? Let's take a look. So in the Holly here, this pass really did go very well according to plan. Nothing out of the ordinary. We nibbled a little bit on the profiler, but really it was kind of where we wanted to. It hooked up pretty well. Speaking of which, a little tip here. I have a section in my data logger for fuel. It just has random, all kinds of things you need to look at every pass. The first thing you always need to look at every single time is your oil pressure. See where it's at. This pass looks great, but you want to be looking for changes. If all of a sudden every pass you're losing 5 pounds or something, hey, you need to know what that's about. So I always just check, make sure everything's cool, because if you catch something here, you can save yourself a whole lot of money. And we'll do a video probably just about oil pressure data in the future. There's a lot you can learn from that. This thing has great oil pressure because it's HED small block, and they generally have good oil pressure. So anyhow, now moving on back to our more drag race, traction control oriented stuff. Everything looks good. I a lot of times look at yaw data to see how much the race car is moving around. And this one's not very much. Very drivable, and everything went pretty good there. I also use pitch data from the VPS to run a wheelie control table, and sometimes even in no prep this is handy. But this thing, what it's doing is it's getting up here and it's pulling about a degree or so on any decent pass. This is kind of how it does, and I'm not going to change that, because changing that is changing the tune-up. If we say, oh, it wasn't really wheelie, and I don't want to, I want to make it where it's not pulling a degree. Okay, well, that's fine, but understand that when you do that, you're adding a degree of timing in it, and therefore the commensurate amount of power. So in this case, I'm not worried about that. I'm going to leave it right there, and I'm right on the edge of that. If we start to get out of control, it'll start to grab it, and it does work super effectively. So now, as far as changes for the next pass, we're pretty hooked up. Everything is looking good, but we want to go faster as we get down into the later rounds. The cars, generally speaking, get quicker and quicker, and in no prep we've learned the hard way, don't take it for granted, and race the lane and not the car, and go as quick as you can within reason, So we're going to do that. Now let's look at the Holly. In this case, we're going to just make one small change. We're going to go into our boost map here, and starting really about 1 second, we're going to start trickling in some boost and bring in our boost way sooner, right? So before we're at a peak of 65 out here at about 3 seconds, and now we're going to turn that on the peak at the same thing in about 1.8, right? So we're going to get there significantly quicker. But I think, so that gives us we can just run these up arrows for a minute, and that's always fun. I think the race car will take it. It should just go faster, and hopefully it's something that's drivable. So let's take that to the starting line for E3 and see how we fare against this nitrous Mustang. Let's see what happens. Okay, very good. We got past E3, a fast car. He jumped out. I'm sorry about the video in that one. Camera problems and whatnot. I've got the in car, and that's about it. But anyhow, long story short, the other car jumped out a little bit. We run back around, and we're going to the finals against Turbo John, who is going to be quick. So we gotta keep it spicy here. So let's look at the data once again, see where we're at. This last pass involved a lane change. For the first time today, we're in the left lane. And I believe that the left lane is not quite as good as the right lane. But in no prep, it's not about lane choice and qualifying order. So you have to, you end up where you end up a lot of times. Anyhow, let's look at our traction control file here. If you look at, okay, about 3.5 or so, Lyle has to pedal slightly. Just dips it enough just to drop a little boost and then shoves it right back in to straighten her out. Right? Now, being as how I try to stay aware of the abilities of my drivers and the input that they give me, what this is telling me is that if Lyle has to lift, it needs to be lifted, right? He's not gonna. He's one that's gonna drive it if it can be driven, right? So that tells me that I need to pay attention. Now, if I look at our yaw data, it doesn't look like the pass before at all. It's all over the place, right? We're moving around quite a bit up here, and again at the end, right? It just is. It's not so much from the wheels coming loose. In this case, it's a lot of times you can have in these situations inequalities in the traction, left tire to right tire, that drive the car around, right? That can be mistaken for just regular wheel slip, and it's not. It's kind of different, right? It may not necessarily show up in the G meter or in the drive shaft, but it's a problem either way. We got to address it, right? So I want to try to calm this down a little bit. So I think we've got the situation covered for the finals, but I don't want to take any undue risks. So in the boost map, I'm going to just trim this back just a little bit through here, just to calm it down right in the middle, or the early part of the middle, just to try to make it a little more drivable. Also, if I remember right, we made we tightened the front struts, I think all the way up, which is a total of 1 click. We got junk struts up front. There's not a whole lot we can do there, but I want to do everything we can. I think it'll tolerate it as far as the extension difference, and that'll also help to stabilize the car a little bit, keep it from rolling around. Another problem we have with beer, some of these are engineering problems. They're not really tune-up related, right? I try to think of the car in different compartmentalized things, right? Some things are tune-up changes. Some things are engineering changes or power production changes, different things. Another problem we have with Beer Money is the wheel width in the rear. We have 10-inch rims on a 10-inch slick. Okay, well, that can be problematic. The wheel will waller around in the tire, and some of the driving around that Lyle's probably having to do is really a result of that. And later on, we'll probably address those issues. But for right now, we got what we got, and we're probably going to be that way for a while. So anyway, we're going to trim right here and try to manage that. I think when the chips are down, Lyle can drive through whatever we need to. And that's the only changes. We're not even looking at the profiler this time. I'm not going to change anything there. We weren't hardly pulling anything out. Let's look at our retard here. Yeah, very little happening. We're right on it. It's just nibbling. It's pretty much normal, so I'm not going to change anything there. Let's go back for the finals and see what happens. told y'all this channel's called Real Good at Doing Stuff, not just pretty good at doing stuff. So anyhow, we come away with the win there at Darlington. Pretty good deal. Turbo John's right there with us at the end. If you'll notice, I just happened to notice this, listen to that video. When we back it Lyle up, I'm giving Lyle instructions on where I'm going to place him. If you're going to be a super duper tunerator, you're kind of in charge of where you're going to sit the car, right? And that's going to vary a lot from pass to pass. You got to look at things and try to come up with some kind of a plan. In this case, I think I put him all the way to one side and kind of tilted him in because we didn't have a good spot. The big tire cars leave bald spots up there, and I evidently thought the best idea was to put him a little bit on the outside, tilt him in so that he's going to try to go back in. But I want him to know that he's already all the way to one side, so let it drift back in. But anyhow, that's just something that you have to think about if you're going to be tuning these things. But anyhow, that's it for this episode of Real Good at Doing Stuff. There's only one thing left to do, and that's stand on top of our race car, drink beer, and hold money. So until next week, that's it. We'll see you at Shady Side. We got another no prep deal coming up in a few days, and we'll see what happens then.